Hey, good morning 944 guys. I'm going to talk to you about diagnosing a clutch failure in the old 944. So pretty much you can split it in half right away as to whether you have a hydraulic failure involving your reservoir, fluid line down, master, hose down to the slave. That's a hydraulic half of the circuit. The other is the mechanical part of the clutch assembly, which is going to be your flywheel, your pressure plate, your clutch disc. This one here we just took apart came in an 87 944. I'm sure it's original, judging by how all the stuff was still assembled inside the car. So here's classic 944 clutch, rubber-centered clutch disc failure. You can see that a lot of the rubber center is gone. So the reason that rubber exists in there is to absorb shock when you're upshifting, downshifting in the car. It's supposed to be limited to about 41 degrees, I think is what the Porsche training manual said. Not positive about that. But it does have limiting hooks right here. There's 3 hooks on the center and on the outside friction disc. You can see this one's been thrashed and for a while. So what that's going to give you is a very distinct bang, bang back and forth on acceleration and deceleration. You're really going to hear it and feel it, and you know you got a pretty much know you got a busted clutch center. Okay, so that's because this is broken right now. You can still drive the car. It's just going to be pretty rough. And this situation is what we call here at CRE as being on the hooks. So when we go to buy a car, we help a customer diagnose, or PPI, pre-purchase inspection. We can tell them you're on the hooks. Your disc is broken. So Porsche solved this by going to a spring-centered clutch. And one more thing on these guys is that the rubber center almost always fails before your friction surface here, okay? These start out at 8.1 millimeters relaxed thickness, and I say that because if you put a micrometer on there, you can actually squeeze it and affect the thickness of that. So it starts out at 8.1 millimeters, go from there. Porsche says 7.6 is worn out. So you'll know that you're on the hooks, by that distinct sound, and then you can go ahead and prove it, okay? So if that's what your suspicion is, you can get up under the back of the car and pull this rubber cover on the bell housing for the transmission side hole and reach right up in there and grab your gray coupler, okay? When your clutch pedal's out, the main shaft is connected one-to-one with the crankshaft, okay? So if you can reach up in there and turn this gray coupler clunk, clunk, clunk back and forth, you're not supposed to be able to turn the engine over by hand, right? So that's a sure sign that you've got a broken center. Another quick diagnosis is to pull the starter off, okay? Disconnect the battery negative first, get up in there and pull your starter, and you'll probably see rubber chunks like this that are gonna be sitting inside your hole where you mount the starter into the clutch bell housing. So 1, 2, real quick diagnosis to verify your fears that you have a mechanical clutch failure. You can tell too, this is just all original. This throwout bearing, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's supposed to be silent. Okay, so there's that. There's an old pressure plate. Still got some rubber chunks in there. That's funny. Clutch there. Boom. This is the spring-centered clutch disc that the cars are coming with now. This is an NA, 4 springs. Turbos have 6 and a bigger diameter, beefier all around. Whenever you're working with a clutch like this, you want to inspect these little sheet metal tabs that join the friction circle with the center hub, okay? So Porsche's just upgraded the rubber-centered clutch for absorbing shock with these nice springs in here. A lot more stout, a lot more robust. That's gonna, another 10 or 15 years, depending on if you're driving the car sensibly or trying to drag race the car, which the 944s aren't meant to have done to them. So 1, 2. Clutch kits are different, you guys. They come with different things. This part number that we ordered here through IMC was KF29802. Some of the clutch kits are going to come with different components, okay, as far as their completeness goes. So brand new pressure plate, inspect that anyway. Spring-centered clutch disc. That's the basics. That's the basics. Some of them come with or without a throwout bearing. Some come with or without a clutch alignment tool. That's critical for getting that clutch disc lined up. So one, so you can get your drive shaft in, but 2, so you're not out of center. and causing a wobble. Some come with a pilot bearing, which is nice. Slide hammer, get that thing out of the rear end of the car. We always do the rear main seal while we're in there. We always replace the flywheel bolts. Those are stretch bolts, okay? That's not them. Yeah, they're micro encapsulated, and you can tell they're special because they're black. And they're only a couple bucks a piece. My lovely assistant is bringing some over. There you go, dump it. See, these bolts are special. The size of them, the shape, the color. Look at that, the 12-point head. That's for a spreading load, okay? These things go in with 66 foot-pounds. That's a lot for that size bolt. And again, it's like I said, it's micro-encapsulated, so they stretch. It's actually into the alloy of the metal. Don't reuse those. I know people that do, but you know, we replace them every time. They're only $2.50 each. Those are not going to come with your clutch kit. So when you shop, make sure you know what you're getting, so you get what you're expecting with the various components. It'll come with shims like this here to set your tightness of your throwout bearing. You want to put that thing with a number of shims that's going to allow it to in your pressure plate without just flopping around. You want it to have some little bit of tension so that you can help center it, because your guide tube has got to go through there, right? Don't forget to transfer over your starter ring from your old clutch assembly to your new one. That's really disappointing when you get most of the way done with the clutch job and find out that you forgot that important step. When these flywheels, this is an original one, and it's late model, you can tell because it's got 3 triggers on it. The early cars only have 1. When you get this machined, wherever you get that done, the machine shop should know, if chance at all, make sure they know that this is a stepped flywheel. There's 2 machine surfaces on here, okay? This center one is for the friction material on the clutch disc, but this step up here is equally important to make sure that your pressure plate sits at the right depth with relationship to your clutch disc and your pressure plate flywheel combination. So it's a stepped flywheel. Get both surfaces machined on that. I think that's about it for the mechanical stuff. Here's a funsy little thing here. This is a stock flywheel, early, late, weigh the same, just the different triggers, but it's a good 18, 20 pounds. This guy here, which I haven't installed in a hot rod engine yet, place your order now. This is an aluminum one, and it weighs about 7 pounds. So this one we can, it's really a big weight reduction. Your engine does not have to get that mass, that flywheel mass spun up. So not going to add any horsepower, but it'll make your engine rev quicker. And that's a real nice addition. Not legal in the 944 spec class, which might be a little bit more fun, but hey, that's that. Here's another thing too. This is your clutch fork cross shaft. These get gouged up, so we want to make sure that that's nice and smooth. If it's got any wear marks from the needle bearings that are in there, smooth that thing out. You can reuse that. I would take a look at your bearings also in your clutch fork. Most of the time, they just need relubed and get them freshened up with some stuff that's going to make them work real well, but sometimes they're too tired, they're falling apart. Be aware of that too. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you, give you a little bit more information to be armed with for diagnosing a clutch failure, the rubber-centered clutch failure, and how to shop for a clutch kit if you're going to do that yourself. So have fun, keep them running, shiny side up, and have fun with your 944, all right?